focusing on really changing the narrative of these young people, these young men and boys of color. We are going to be talking about equitable opportunities and pathways, changing systems to be able to have opportunities for young people to get into health careers, and building really supports for young men that have been criminalized, and really changing the perception and making sure that they know that they are assets in our community, and with their lived experience that we can actually transform this community.
I'm also the chair of the California Legislative Black Caucus, and I serve there along with your assembly member, Luis Alejo, as he is the chair of the California Latino Legislative Caucus. More work must be done to address systematic inequalities faced by most of our vulnerable youth. And that is why we are in Salinas today, to discuss pathways to equitable opportunities and outcomes for males of color. The only way that we're going to find out what's going on is we have to go where it is actually happening. My brother Luis is someone that speaks on behalf of the poorest of the poor in California, not only just for Latinos. He looks out for education for everyone that's been left out of the system. When he's on the floor, he is a force in Sacramento, and each of you should be extremely proud to have him in Sacramento. He deserves a great big round of applause.
I think this is a very important time to be having this discussion here in Salinas. This is a community of hardworking families who contribute so much to the state of California, whether they work for the city or they work in agriculture out in our fields. Many of us have the dreams, the hopes and aspirations to have better opportunities, have safe neighborhoods, and better opportunities for our young people as they grow up in these communities throughout the Salinas Valley.
I want to thank everybody that's here, because we have an opportunity today. Today there's history being made, not just nationally, but here locally, when we're thinking about marriage equality, and here through this conversation, through this hearing, we're hoping that we begin the steps towards racial equity, and more importantly, the march towards collective power. We're not just talking about outcomes, but we're going to go into incomes, so that our people can look at themselves and have those finer things in life, a quality of life where they see themselves not just as civically participating, but also civically leading.
Ultimately transforming systems by taking in a lens of racial and healing equity. That's something that we have realized that race is something that's at the center and something that we need to be addressing, and so you will be hearing about a lot of different projects that we're working on in order to expand the opportunities and close the gap for these young and boys and men of color.
We've been partnering across not just communities, but with system leaders in a way that looks different, in a way that we're looking at these issues across the institution, across departments, and we're very excited to share those kind of findings and those learnings. But more importantly, today I think marks for here in Salinas, because of a lot of the work that's been done in the past by Luis, by Simon, and other supportive supervisors and other people in the community, the start of a conversation and a relationship where we can have an intimate relationship with the folks of the Assembly Select Hearing Committee.
Salinas is a central point for many things. This is an area of great history, the agricultural center of the world, if you will. We feed a lot of people on the backs of many people that work and labor and history of people here. But in addition, Salinas is doing wonderful work. There's some progressive work that is going on here that brings the community together with systems that is really addressing the issues of racial equity and racial healing from really the ground point, and also recognizing that there's a lot of trauma, and that this community and the systems involved and the California Endowment and those people that are supporting have made a decision to embrace the woundedness and embrace the issues and embrace the trauma, and to begin on a path of transformation.
Welcome everyone here today. This is an impressive number of people who've come out on a Friday afternoon to hear about the very important. On behalf of the Select Committee on Boys and Men of Color, the Assembly Select Committee, and I want to say that because the Assembly 6 or 7 years ago came together and said this is an important issue. Our Latino, African American, and API boys and men of color are at a crisis. And it's because of that we've done some amazing things over the last 6 years.
In Salinas, like in many other places, we have banded across, not issues, but across the struggle and the opportunity to excel and be abundant. We're thinking about the intersectionality of all these things when they're talking about addressing the school to prison to deportation pipeline, where now we're thinking about what's the pathway home and what's actually the pathway to outcomes, to incomes.
As Reggie was telling me earlier, it's not enough to get bills signed. We have to review those to make sure they're the people that it's intending to help. We have to make sure it's actually working the way we intended it to, and that's part of our work as well.
In order for us to really come together, because what really separates us are those wounds sometimes, those fears sometimes, the disconnection.
I'm also formerly incarcerated, believe it or not. So that didn't hit as good as I thought it was going to. Just had to put that out there so you guys know. So upon my reintegration into society, I faced numerous different barriers in regards to re-entry, such as lack of job opportunities. Everywhere I went, I was kind of told, like, we'll keep your resume on file.
We need to stop these harsh discriminatory practices and stop local law enforcement engagement with federal immigration officials. They can say no, and some have said no. And we cannot stop there. It's not enough that we stop doing bad things to immigrants, but that we understand that what we aren't doing also hurts and contributes to suffering of our communities.
Our goal is to describe exactly what they expect from the Salinas police officers who are going to be assigned to Acosta Plaza, as the community has in Hebron Heights. You see, real place-based policing does not do what law enforcement has done, I think, for many, many, many years, which is describe to you how you need to be policed and then impose that on you. Our role rightfully should be to hear how a community, an individual and unique community, because I tell you, Hebron is different than Acosta Plaza, is different from Santa Rita, is different from Chinatown. How each community wants to be policed and what they expect from their police officers. And a police officer's rightful role is to serve those needs and those demands in partnership as courageous followers to the leaders in the community. That's what we will be doing.
Equity and racial equity in particular for boys and men of color. We know that when we invest in boys and men of color, that we lift all boats. We're thinking here locally about the possibility of thinking about how can community, system leaders, and other advocates work together, collaborate, and partner in an authentic way so that we can start thinking about what does racial equity look across different departments, whether it's at city or at county level, with the specific focus on not just racial equity and having the conversation, but the transformation grounded in culture and racial healing.
My goal is, in the beginning of 2016, to take literally down to the patrol officer level and embed each patrol officer for a period of no less than a year in one neighborhood. That officer will work that neighborhood and that neighborhood alone for no less than 1 year. And that will provide ownership to that, of that beat, of that area to the officer, and make that officer and that officer alone accountable to the residents. On all 3 shifts, on day shift, swing shift, and graveyard, 7 days a week, you will know the police officer assigned to your beat.
There's a lot more work that we can do, but we also heard some inspirational stories that are the faces of the work that is being accomplished. As we mentioned, Israel Villa and Destiny Villa, some very compelling stories that for me are inspirational, that show that the work is that being done is working and changing lives, and in return, those people are helping change the lives of others. There's nothing more powerful than that.
This event is important because it brings to light the significant issues that we need to address in order to really focus on community healing, on racial justice and on racial healing. What that really means is bringing honor and dignity to all people into communities, but also transforming systems so that the systems are in alignment with the needs of the people.
Hey, yeah, hey, yeah, yo. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah, yo. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah, yo. Oh, tata sol. Hey, yeah, yo. Oh, madre tierra. Hey, yeah, yo. Hermano viento. Hey, yo. Hermana agua. Hey, yo. Anana luna. Hey, yo. La Virgen.